All right, here's an OBS way to put on some size, change your physique, and how to navigate the fitness industry when you first start getting it on your feed. So if you are seeing this, you probably want to make a change. You want to get bigger. You want to start making some gains in the gym. So the first thing you need is motivation, right? So you need to have something that kind of finally gives you a little kick in the butt to get moving, get doing something. And it's a pretty good hobby overall. I think even in the future, if AI starts taking off more and is able to replace people's jobs, what are people going to do? They're going to build physiques, because what's the one thing that money can't buy? And that's your health and a physique. At the end of the day, if people could just spend the money and have a physique like Chris Bumstead, or design their physique like a video game character, they definitely would, right? So if that was the case, you would see movie stars, although Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, kind of the exception there. You got obviously put work in for that, right? So decided he wanted that, made some changes, made it happen, right? So he had to make that a priority in his life to make that happen. That's the same with you too, right? So you gotta start making it a priority. And once you realize that that's what you want to do, how do you go about doing it? Well, you gotta start out. The one thing you're missing for sure is going to be the stimulus. If you haven't started that yet, you got to get to the gym and start doing that. And then what do you do for splits, right? So you're going to see tons of different stuff on people saying, do this exercise, do that. And that's all valid. Most of the exercises are going to work. There's going to be very few that don't work, but it's going to be what works best for you and what feels the best, because you're different. Your biomechanics, the way your body moves, the way everything in your body works out, different leverages, you're shorter, taller, certain things will feel better. So with that said, you just got to try the different exercises, see what works for you. And I think, some people talk about the volume aspect of it too, like, oh, well, doing too much volume isn't good. That's just, going to set you back in a sense. But I think when you're first starting out, I think it's going to be hard to do almost too much volume. As you start, getting more into it, if you're obsessed with it, you can get to the point of doing too much volume. But I think for the most part, it's hard to get to the point of doing too much volume being new. But with that said, I'm sure it's definitely possible, right? So then you may be asking, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, for splits, you do pushing exercises, which essentially call that your chest days. It's been chest related. And then maybe throw your arm day in with your chest day. That's what I like to do. You can do back, which is your pulling. So all your pulling exercises for your lat, back exercise stuff. And then to, leg days, you can split that up into two as well if you want to do hamstrings and calves, or, just quads on its own. Or you can do all of it together, which gets to be a little longer day, but it's doable, right? So it just depends on what works best for you. At first, it's just get in and start trying stuff. Number two, you got to start tracking your food a little bit, right? So if you're a skinnier guy like me starting out, and I still am, it's still hard for me to put size on versus take size off. So if I'm trying to, essentially whatever state you're in is going to be hard, but you can use certain things to your advantage. So if you can, your appetite's one of the things that is harder to keep going. Well, for you, bulking up is going to be the hard part. So you can use, go a little crazier on your bulks or try to get size, especially if you're just starting out. You need to track. Just go all in. Just dive right into it. Obviously you have to prioritize different things in your life, but I think if you're trying to do it as make it a lifestyle, just dive into it head first. Really get after it, because once you start seeing gains, that's gonna be another factor that'll keep you motivated to keep on going and sticking with it. Because once you build something, you don't want to see it go away. So it's like, well, I already put this much time and effort into it. If you spend a couple months doing it, you start seeing gains, like, well, I've already been doing this for a couple months, I might as well keep on going. I don't want to lose what I've already got. I'm right there. And then, it's a year later, you've made substantial progress, and now you really don't want to see that go away. And with that said, there's no better day than today or tomorrow. It's like the sooner the better. Just get into it, get started. That's all you can really do. But food is going to be the next thing to start tracking after you actually get in the gym. So I use the app Chronometer, just what I came across, what I liked. I think when you first sign in, it wants you to do a paid version, but just skip all past that. free version works just fine. You have ads that pop up here and there. Buy your little scale on Amazon or wherever, little digital scale, and start tracking your stuff. You know, so if you're at let's say 150 pounds, you want to go to 180, shoot for 180 to 200 grams of protein, and then maybe start out with just track your food you eat on a daily basis, I guess. See where you're at, and then start to look at upping those a little bit so you can start gaining weight. Track your weight. I think Chronometer also has that where you punch your weight in. You can see that graph go up steadily over time. So the more you can track, the easier that is. The more it kind of gamifies it, and you start seeing the progress come along, and then you just want to keep on going. Then as you get into it more too, you're going to start seeing stuff with pre-workouts, supplements, protein powders, mass gainers, which I use those quite a bit. Especially in a bulk, I'm using mass gainers more than the protein powders. You stick the protein in the mass gainer, and then you still get calories. So with that said, what brand do you buy? Well, it's what you trust. You have to find, a lot of influencers have brands that they make. I think a lot of them are made by the same manufacturing companies, and they make their own they pick out how much of each product they want inside for their blends, and then that's what they sell. That's how they make money, right? So pick one that you like. They're all roughly the same, but there are going to be some price discrepancies there. I think Amazon's NutriCost one is a pretty basic brand that I think has. I haven't tried that one myself yet, but that is an on my to-do list to try some of theirs next. I buy like the Dynamize mass gainer right now is what I'm drinking off of Amazon. That mixes up pretty well along with the Grill of Mine mass gainer, cookies and cream, but that's quite a bit more expensive. So they're both good. They work, and it's just whatever you can afford, essentially, right? So obviously, if you can afford to eat and you can have the appetite for good foods, you're able to eat if you can eat chicken breast with a vegetable, your potato, have a balanced meal like that, and you can eat that in quantities enough to get the calories up, that would be great. Now as when you're first starting out, just get the calories in. If you have to eat, the whole dirty bulk stuff, people are like, oh, don't dirty bulk. I mean, if you're just starting out, do whatever it takes to get the calories in, right? Worry about fine-tuning, refining that stuff later on. When you're first starting out, it's just a matter of getting the calories in or not having the calories if you're trying to cut wherever your starting point is. But I'm going to assume your starting point's small and you're trying to put size on. If you're overweight, you got to shave body fat off first. You're going to have to cut with cardio and just try to do maintenance exercise just to hang on to the muscle you have, which I think is a harder starting point than putting size on, from being like kind of skinny and then trying to put size on. So example, I was a distance runner, so I was already lean, and just naturally lean to begin with, less body fat, but it made it easier for me as I just had to start putting food down and lifting weight, because I was doing calisthenics and stuff. I mean, as a teenager, in my early 20s as well, so I had that going for me. So it's not like I was just skinny. I had a little bit of physique, but nothing great ever. I was never, big by any means. I'm still not big. I'm only 194 right now, so it's still not very big. 6 foot, 194 pounds. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we can keep on putting some size on and get bigger. But with that said, you just need to track your calories, start out with that, and then as time goes on, refine how much, what foods work better for you, your gut, your appetite. Pay attention to your digestion, how when you're going to the bathroom, how, solid, liquid, all that stuff. You don't want to have your gut all messed up, because eventually that will hinder you over time. But in the beginning, I think you can play around with it. Another little tidbit information: when you first start out, if you can do blood work or something like that early on, like right before you even start, that'd be great. Then you can, start out, do blood work. If you're going to go the route of, you want to do this as fast as possible, and you shouldn't necessarily jump on like a TRT or testosterone replacement right away starting out, but that's just the name of the game on social media, the things you're going to be seeing, the physiques you're seeing. Most guys that are posting are going to be on something, right? So just keep your expectations in check. You know, the newbie gains will come fast and then slow down. And then that's where you have to start doing more, right? So, you know, from a running aspect, running let's say a 30-minute 5K, you know, easier. Most people are going to be able to get down to a 30-minute 5K. Now getting under 20 minutes gets hard. Now going from a 20-minute down to a 15-minute, the amount of work and effort you have to go from a 20-minute to 15 is going to be more than what you have to do from getting a 30 to a 20, right? So you're going to have to really start dialing things in. It's the same thing with putting size on, working out, lifting, just about anything you get into as a hobby. When you first start out, you're going to, you know, just by participating in it, you're already going to start to be dramatically better, right? So you can make substantial gains just by starting. Now with the hormone stuff, that's just something that's going to be all over the place in general. So as you dial things in, if you have good sleep, you're exercising, doing your cardio, your natural production of your testosterone hormones will be in a much better spot, which I would, you know, if you start with your blood work early on, you can see where it's at. Do testosterone, estrogen, just a good comprehensive panel. And you can get that through various sources. I don't know, like whether Merrick Health, KODE.X, those are the, you know, some of the popular ones, but they're going to be more kind of spendy. You can also build your own panels. I can't remember which one I've used before, but there's cheaper options to go through when you're going through the Quest, or I can't remember the one you're right now either, but there's options to get your blood work done. And then once you have those baselines and you work out for a while, that's something that you'll also see improve, even if you're eating a sloppier diet. So like for myself, I was eating a clean diet my entire life for the most part, and I still don't have like a crazy appetite for sweets and things like that. I like cleaner foods. I like vegetables. So when I'm actually trying to put size on and I'm trying to keep calories going down, I do avoid the greens a little more just because I want to get calories in. Not the right way to go about it from a strict health standpoint, but obviously, you know, asparagus isn't as many calories as a brownie, right? So, or junk food. But when you're first starting out, surprisingly, you know, you might think the asparagus seem better physique, but in reality, when you're trying to put the calories in, if you aren't consuming enough calories, that junk food is going to do more for you in terms of putting size on than the asparagus. But you need to make sure also your protein's in check. So make sure, you know, number 1, calories, number 2, protein, and then start dialing in your carbs and fats. You know, always keep the fats less than 100 grams ideally, and then play with your carbs for your overall calorie intake. So more rice, more potatoes, clean foods, whole foods, definitely a better way to go. But if you're trying to do it fast, you know, if you're trying to go from 0 to hero as fast as possible, you got to get in the gym, get the calories down. You got to be eating your protein, and then if you're doing get your blood work done, you can go jump on TRT, something like that. Especially as older guys, like I'm 28, so I'm assuming that most of the people are going to be seeing my videos are going to be in the older crowd, 30s plus, 40s, even. Those guys, you know, you can definitely get that checked out. It's going to make things a lot easier. And then with that said too, you know, it's also you got to prioritize different things in life, right? So obviously we aren't stepping on stage being IFBB pros going to Olympia. So you still have to balance other things in life, like, you know, you got to make it to work. You got to sleep. You have family obligations, other various hobbies, vacations, things like that. So you just have to set the priorities for yourself. You know, where do you want it to land? Obviously, I feel like for myself, you know, one of the things that I haven't been doing ever since I started going to the gym and getting into exercising heavily as one of my main hobbies is I don't go out drinking. I'm not going out to the bars. I'm not going to parties. I'm not staying up late unnecessarily. You know, I value that sleep. You know, sleep is, I mean, working a job with shift work, it's been tough, right? So for me to keep consistent sleep schedule, it's hard. So when I can sleep at night and I can wake up early when the sun's coming up, oh my God, it's amazing. Those little things like that if you have access to that, or you have a job that allows you to do that kind of stuff, you know, it's something to be grateful for a little bit. So keep that in mind. So you gotta get your sleep, work out, track your calories, hormones. You start doing all that, those things are in check, you're gonna put some size on, right? Now as you start putting it on and the growth tapers off, now you start refining a little more. Now what in your blood work looks good? If you're doing TRT, can you move the doses around? Can you obviously you keep the cleaner diet, right? So you're cleaning your diet up so you can keep your digestion going faster. Meal timing. Then you start looking at meal timing before workouts. What time do you like working out? What types of those exercises does your body prefer? You know, what feels better? You know, all those things are things you figure out on your own. And you can watch, you know, all kinds of different shorts. You see it on Instagram, TikTok, all the YouTube shorts, or you see all kinds of different suggestions. You just got to figure out what works for you. That's all it boils down to, is just trying to figure out what works. Where does it fall for the things that work well for you? Because obviously what works well for a Sam Sulik may not work well for you. You know, somebody that's literally their job is to, you know, wake up in the morning, be well rested, eat their food, take their supplements, go to the gym, have a hard workout, record their workout. You know, they're doing some brand deals with supplements. They're probably trying to do some research to make sure that those supplements that they are going to be telling their viewers about is actually something that's good, because that's something that they don't want to be. I would assume most of them don't want to be pushing bad products. I mean, I'm sure there's some not so great ones out there, right? There's some greed out there. I think social media can definitely attract some of those people, which you can see it on there. Some of the more maybe narcissism or narcissistic tendencies a little bit. But just keep your eyes open. As you start getting into the fitness space more, you're going to start seeing it. You're going to see things. You need to kind of pick out some of the BS a little bit, right? You know, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. There's no magic pill. There's no magic peptide. There's no magic dosage for TRT, or if you're going to start doing cycling, there's no magic dose or magic compound that's going to, you know, do all of it for you. Or like, oh, if you take Tren, it's going to make you huge. I mean, I'm sure all that stuff helps. You know, I'm sure like it's going to make a difference. But, you know, I think there's that one guy that's out there doing Tren and steroids and just drinking and just wrecking his body essentially, right? Yeah, sure, they're going to make some gains. I think there's some studies out there that show that. But is that sustained? I bet if those studies went on a little longer, you'd probably see that those gains there's probably a pretty strong plateau. So that's where they even have to start refining more, figuring out what works well for their body, how much can their body tolerate based on what their blood work's saying, based on how they feel. There's no magic to it, right? It's just everybody's different. What works for you? Get in there, enjoy the process, start lifting. But I don't know. I guess this is just me doing some rambling, ranting, just kind of talking, see if this even turns out. I might have to make some changes with all the fans blowing here right now. Camera repeated the first time. Just talking, messing around, give my opinion. We'll see. Maybe we'll see in the future here what else I'm talking about. But I don't know. Overall, the supplement stuff, you know, you just gotta keep your eyes open a little bit. Look at the pre-workouts. You know, buy one tub, take some. You know, be careful of the caffeine that's in them. The caffeine can be in pretty high dosages in pre-workout, so that's what's giving you that extra pop of energy. I think the one good thing about pre-workouts, or one thing I like, is the pump aspect, right? So L-citrulline, glycerol, which you can buy some of these things just on their own too, right? From on Amazon, like bulk supplements, I think is a pretty good one. Just go on there, buy it, try it out. Obviously start with lower dosages to see how it affects your stomach, because that's even with creatine, right? It's going to be something that might upset your stomach. It might not feel too great. You might not like the way you feel when you take it, but start with small dosages, taper things around, see what you like. That's all you can really do. Just try different things, see what works for you. There is, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just trying to get in there, enjoy the process. I think most people are gonna be pretty friendly. That, like, in real world situations that you meet at the gym, most people you're around, at least what I've experienced, everybody's pretty friendly. It's a pretty welcoming community. And if your gym's not that way, just try a different one, because that doesn't seem like a place you want to be anyways. So there's plenty of good people out there that are willing to offer their 2 cents. And just remember that something that works for somebody else, it doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just that works for them. And you can try it, see if it works for you as well. Just playing to your strengths, So if you're big guy, you got to carry around extra body fat, you're gonna be able to lift some heavy weights. Which is pretty cool. If you walk into the gym, you're already benching 225 on your first day walking in. Wow, that'd be pretty sweet. So I don't know, just get out there, give it a shot. I don't know, we'll see. I guess this will probably just be the end. So if you've made it this far, me just sitting here rambling, talking a little bit, like, subscribe. I guess we'll see you next time on something else.